All right, guys. So we got to talk about this interview between CNN's Jim Acosta, who has a severe case of Trump derangement syndrome. I mean, there's not anybody on CNN that I can think of that has a worse case of Trump derangement syndrome than this guy. Okay, and he's going to do this interview with Vivek Ramaswamy. And he's going to, of course, ask about the Trump indictments because they don't want to talk about Hunter Biden, right? They don't want to talk about Joe. They don't want to talk about the Biden crime family. All they want to talk about is Trump. And I think that Vivek Ramaswamy is honestly far and ahead of anybody else in the GOP primary when it comes to being able to clearly articulate why these indictments against Trump is a political witch hunt and why this is bad for the country. And this is why I say that if Trump was smart, right, if he's smart, he should pick Vivek Ramaswamy as his VP, okay? If Trump doesn't pick Vivek Ramaswamy as his VP, there's some problems, right? He has some serious decision-making issues if Ramaswamy is not the VP pick. Now, again, there's a lot of time between now and when Trump eventually probably most likely definitely wins a primary, right? And unless something crazy happens, that, you know, things could change. But if he had to pick a VP today, Vivek Ramaswamy should be the guy, okay? Because, again, he is far and away the best GOP candidate, best Republican, period, that is defending Trump against what is obviously a politically motivated prosecution from the deep state. So with that being said, he's going to once again defend Trump, and Jim Acosta is going to slowly get triggered as Vivek Ramaswamy essentially destroys the narrative against Trump when it comes to these indictments. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll this clip.
Well, I think the former president is going to come up at the debate whether he's there or not, and he's now facing his fourth criminal indictment, this time in Georgia on forgery, false statements, election fraud, and racketeering charges. You have said that these are political or politicized prosecutions, politicized persecutions through prosecution. Let's listen to what his former attorney general is saying about this.
People who defend him say that he genuinely did feel that he was robbed, and this was the good fight and the proper fight.
Well, even if he did, right, and I am dubious about that, but even if he believed that, that doesn't mean you can use illegal means to rectify it. If you think the bank is unfairly keeping your money, there are many things you can do to get it back. You can't go and rob the bank.
Yeah, what's your response to the former attorney general?
Look, I think there are deep legal flaws with this case. I'm talking to you from the Nixon Presidential Library, where I'm delivering a speech later tonight. We'll look at Nixon versus Fitzgerald. This is something that the press has altogether ignored. A president's acts while in office are something that he actually enjoys immunity for, other than through the impeachment process. So if he believes, even incorrectly, that he was looking after election fraud, that alone could be a defense. I also think there are deep due process failures. Let's start with the fact that they actually, Fulton County, publicly posted the charges of the indictment even before the grand jury had signed them. That's a grave prosecutorial, bushy-tailed, overexcited mistake.
Yeah, it's a scam, right? It's a scam. That means that the process is rigged. Okay, I think it's obvious that the process is rigged. In fact, I think it goes deeper than that. I think that all of these prosecutors are colluding with each other to go after Trump. That's what I believe. And I believe they're all lining up the dates of the trials, or attempting to line up the dates of the trials, in order to make it tougher for Trump to campaign and to do what he needs to do in order to actually win, especially in the general. They want him to win the primary because they believe he's the easiest to beat, that Biden can beat Trump. He's most likely to beat Trump more than anybody else. But really, ultimately, they want to hurt him in the general, okay? And that's how they're lining this thing up. Again, I think it's deeper than that. I think that the whole thing is an effort from all of these prosecutors who are all conspiring together. They're all communicating in order to take down Trump. That's what I believe, sincerely.
Due process violation that itself could be grounds for a motion to dismiss. We also have to look at this prosecution in the context of the fact that there are three others, now four prosecutions in a series of months, all convening around a presidential election that sets a god-awful precedent, Jim, for this country. We do not want to become a nation where the party in power uses multiple different legal cases at the same time pushing untested novel legal theories to knock out its opposition in the middle of a presidential election. That is not how we do things in the United States of America. And I say this as somebody who in many national polls is now polling second. It would be easier for me if Donald Trump were eliminated from competition. That is not how I want to win. I stand on the side of principle, not politics.
There are now 4 different
when I say
indictments.
we need to unite this country.
Yeah, let me jump in. There have been 4 different indictments. You don't think he's committed any crimes in any of these indictments?
I don't think any of the indictments have demonstrated that he committed a crime. No, and I've written on the pages of the Wall Street Journal and elsewhere wearing a technical legal hat, and you and I can go into that detail if you're
refusing
interested.
to return
but
classified
I think these are clearly
documents?
politically motivated. Well, let's just take that one as an example. That indictment made zero mention of the Presidential Records Act, the most recently passed act that relates to a president, including an outgoing president's access to documents. The fact that this is a 49-page indictment, that one was, that was silent on that fact, reveals smacks of politicization. I also think that the fact that they used the Espionage Act, one of the most un-American acts in U.S. history, that has been used to round up anti-war activists, that was used to lock up Eugene V. Debs when he ran for president.
But do you think it's okay to have classified documents? You think it's okay for you to have classified documents laying around the Ramaswamy household?
Is it okay for Biden to have them laying around his garage in the vicinity of his crackhead son who brings prostitutes in and out of the house? You think that's okay, Jim Acosta? Right. I wonder, does he think that Biden should go to jail for his classified document scandal? Okay. I wonder what Jim Acosta thinks about that.
No, it's not. But I think that there's a difference between a bad judgment and a crime. And the Presidential Records Act expressly
they
gives
came to
the
him and
U.S.
asked for the
president
documents
access to those
back, and he
records.
didn't return them. They asked for the documents back.
Again,
and he
I
just
would have made
refused.
very different judgments.
Yeah.
Look, Jim, I am running in the same race that Donald Trump is. So I'm not saying that every judgment he made was the same judgment I would make. In fact, it wasn't. But that is different from charging it as a crime, which I think sets an awful precedent in our country. If you want to get a little
technical
technical
in the federal
about
election
it, Jim,
case, he lied about the election.
Time.
He tried to overturn the election results. Why not call him out for that as well?
I will remind you the Supreme Court's precedent in Alvarez, a 2012 case, which held that public officials, including politicians, have a First Amendment right to lie, to tell the truth, to even make statements they didn't believe, let alone the fact that there isn't a shred of evidence to suggest that Trump didn't even believe his own claims. And so we can get into the legal technical details all we want. That's going to happen in the courtroom. But as a matter of judgment, as somebody who is running to and expects to be the next president of the United States, my top job is to reunite this country. And my way of doing that is going to be to pardon Donald Trump on day one and to pardon really anybody else who was also the victim of a politically motivated persecution through prosecution. We have to move forward as a country. And I think this sets a dangerous precedent unless we actually pardon.
Yeah, and this is why I think that Vivek Ramaswamy should be the VP. He has to be at this point. He does such a good job of defending Trump, and it's not just one of those things where he's out here just saying anything. He's clearly making legal arguments in defense of Trump. He's also including citations and references to past cases and laws on the books. Clearly, the guy is well informed, or at least he appears to be, if the layman is listening to him, and that's the only thing that really matters, is that you're trying to convince the independent, the person who, doesn't really consume that much politics. When you're listening to somebody like Vivek Ramaswamy defend Trump, yeah, he definitely makes a convincing argument that this is politically motivated, especially considering the fact that Biden and Hillary have committed similar crimes, and there's been no prosecution brought against them. They're not being charged with anything. And Joe Biden, we really don't know yet, but Hillary wasn't. So I'm just saying, again, this is why Vivek Ramaswamy, in my opinion, no other Republican is doing this. No other Republican is defending Trump at this level the same way that Vivek Ramaswamy is doing, and Trump needs that desperately, okay? But Vivek Ramaswamy also, too, he plays offense in the sense that he can have these types of conversations, but he always turned the conversation around into something where he talks about, hey, I'm trying to unify the country. This is what I'm for. This is what, I'm pushing for. He doesn't really get caught up trying to defend himself, but if he has to defend himself, if he has to defend Trump, then he can obviously do it at the highest level. Now, clearly, Jim Acosta doesn't really have much of a counter argument, or he can't really push back legally because Jim Acosta is just not at the same level as Vivek Ramaswamy in regards to the amount of detail and the substance of the legality behind this stuff, right? So, again, he can't really say much, right? And I think that's why he's clearly getting frustrated. He's visibly frustrated in his face because he can't really publicly push back on what Vivek Ramaswamy is saying. It's actually very hilarious to see this man's face evolve during this interview because nobody hates Trump more than this guy. But overall, my point is that Trump needs a guy, a bulldog like Vivek Ramaswamy, who can defend him like this, right? At this level, okay? And again, he's the perfect guy for that. That's who he needs to be his VP, right? At this point. A guy that can defend him and fight back against the mainstream liberal media narrative.
But Mr. Ramaswamy, you just said you want to wait for all the details, the technical details to come out at trial, but you're declaring beforehand that you would pardon him. Why not listen for the facts to come out at trial and then make that determination?
I'm saying it based on one assumption. The assumption is that the statements in each of the indictments are the most prosecution favorable statements we're going to get. Any legal scholar would tell you that is a fair assumption. In any case, the prosecution always puts up its strongest foot in the indictment itself. We haven't even heard from the defense. So yes, if there are gaping surprises that come up, I mean, there's zero evidence to suggest that Trump was selling those secrets to foreign adversaries for private gain.
Unlike Joe Biden, who allegedly is selling influence or foreign policy decisions to foreign entities for his own personal gain, right? I'm just saying something that, Jim Acosta won't ask about. He won't talk about it. He don't really want to discuss it. That's a conspiracy, right? But everything regarding Trump is not a conspiracy. It's 100% true. Again, CNN is it's a trash network. It really is.
But if those facts come up, of course, I would revisit my judgment. But the fact of the matter is the prosecution obviously makes the most aggressive statement of its case in the indictment. And assuming that's the case here, as it is in any other case, I will absolutely pardon Trump on day one, January 20th, 2025, when I'm in office.
And every Republican candidate should be promising the same thing. They should be promising the same thing. Because again, even if you think Trump committed a crime, again, are they going to lock up Joe Biden? You know they're not locking up Joe Biden for the classified documents case. Did they go after Hillary? No. So why are they allowed to get away with it and Trump is not? Again, I'm just saying, every GOP candidate should be coming out here and saying the exact same thing. If we're elected, we're pardoning Trump. Now, again, can't really do much about the state case in Georgia. Can't do that much about it. But at least when it comes to these federal charges, yeah, every GOP candidate should be promising to pardon Trump.
Would you pardon Trump's other alleged co-conspirators in both the documents and the election cases?
It depends on how the facts match up to the law. I mean, take about the documents case. There are special features of the law that apply to a U.S. president. Literally, the Presidential Records Act treats past U.S. presidents.
But why say you would pardon Trump on day one, but not? But why say you're going to pardon Trump on day one, but not make that kind of blanket promise to the alleged co-conspirators? Shouldn't they get that kind of same pardon offer?
I'm favorably inclined. I'm favorably inclined to do it. But right now, I'm a competitor against Donald Trump in this primary, and I want to be very clear on the side of principle. Though it's against my interest in this race, that's why I think in the interest of uniting this country, it is especially important to be clear about that fact. I expect to maybe making tens of pardons on day one. I think there are countless Americans who have been the victims of politically motivated persecutions through prosecution. Peaceful protesters on January 6th, January 6th defendants who actually have had constitutional due process violations. Julian Assange is someone I've specifically identified as somebody I would absolutely pardon. Ross Ulbricht, Douglas Mackey, others.
Throw Eric Snowden in there as well, too. Okay, Edward Snowden. Throw him in there as well, too. Okay, that he will be going further than Trump went in regards to pardoning Assange and Snowden, which apparently Mitch McConnell apparently threatened Trump. Allegedly, Trump was threatened by the establishment in regards to issuing some of these pardons. Again, it would be interesting to see how Ramaswamy would respond if he was elected president or even VP in regards to, you know, his promises to take down the deep state. When people actually go after the deep state, it doesn't end well for them, okay? If you actually really want to go after the deep state, you're basically putting your life in danger here, okay? Now, Vivek Ramaswamy is talking big game, but I got to admit, I have to concede that it is hard to imagine him actually executing a lot of these things that he's talking about, just considering what we've seen from the deep state in the establishment.
But I think that the only way we're going to move forward as a country, there can be no reconciliation without truth. We have to put that past behind us. And my top job is going to be to heal the wounds of this nation, to lead us forward. Because even look at the conversation
pardoning Trump is going to heal the wounds. Pardoning Trump is going to heal the wounds of the nation.
I do. I do think it will be a step towards healing the wounds of the nation. I think there are deep wounds in this country that are the consequence of systematic censorship, the weaponization of police force to accomplish political goals through the justice system. That is wrong. This is not an easy project ahead for the next president. I am in this race because I do see a lot of candidates on both sides motivated by vengeance and grievance. I am motivated by leading this nation forward. And the way we're going to do it is by restoring one standard of the rule of law for all Americans, restore the integrity of the justice system, and leave politics to politics. The people of this country should decide who the next president is. They're free to take into account all of the information that has been laid out by left-wing media, right-wing media, et cetera, to make their decisions. If they didn't think Donald Trump made good decisions, then they should take that into account when voting him out. But that is not the basis for a prosecution.
What about Trump making these threats and making these kinds of inflammatory comments about the judge, about the special counsel, and so on in some of these cases? Do you defend that?
This guy, again, these people in the liberal media, especially CNN, they kill me with this fake outrage over the things that Trump says. Okay, Trump has the right to defend himself. He's defending himself by attacking these prosecutors for what clearly is political persecution. Trump defending himself apparently is racist, right? Trump defending himself apparently is violence. Trump doesn't have the right to defend himself according to people like this guy right here. And that's the frustrating part about this. They think that Trump is supposed to just take it. Hey, just take it. Just take it and don't say nothing. If you say anything, you're a bigot. Especially because you're criticizing black folks, right? If you make any criticisms as a white person of a black person, you're racist, right? You're a bigot. You hate black women. Again, this is what these people are saying. Trump said we're going after the riggers, right? We're going to find the riggers. And the mainstream liberal media says that Trump is basically trying to allude to the N-word. Well, clearly that's not what he's alluding to at all. These people are brainwashed. They're so brainwashed. It is crazy.
Should he knock that off?
So I'm not familiar with the specific nature of which inflammatory comment you're referring to or not. He's clearly deeply aggrieved by the fact that he's being prosecuted through 4 separate cases that have arisen at the same time in the middle of an election. Again, from my vantage point, I would make very different judgments and would have made very different judgments than Donald Trump.
This dude is so frustrated, bro. His face, he's so frustrated, bro. He can't stand it. He doesn't have any rebuttals. And that's what he's so frustrated about. He can't really push back against Vivek Ramaswamy. Only thing he can do is ask these silly questions about, should Trump knock it off with the mean comments about the prosecutors that are trying to put him in jail over politics? Right?
But that is a different point than saying this should be criminalized. That's where I'm at. So I'm not in this to defend
he says, I'm coming
Trump
after
or
you
anybody
if you're
else.
coming
I'm in this
after
to
me.
defend the nation.
He says, I'm coming after you if you coming after me. Apparently, to Jim Acosta, that is violence, okay? That's something we should seriously be concerned about that. Trump said he's coming after people, right? Again, it's so hilarious, right? It's so hilarious. It's honestly, I like, these people need help. They need to lay on somebody's couch. That's what they really need to do, okay? And to discuss with a professional their Trump derangement syndrome, because that's all that is.
But you've heard him say, you've heard how he said, I'm coming after you if you come after me. I mean, you've heard that, correct? Is that appropriate?
I mean, if he means that he's going to file a motion, if he means he's going to file a motion to dismiss, then he should absolutely file a motion to dismiss, which I think will be very embarrassing for the prosecutor and, frankly, very embarrassing for the
But you don't
entire
think that that's
law
what he means
enforcement
when he says
apparatus,
that?
if that's indeed granted.
But you don't think that's what he means when he says that?
I'm going to be very honest with you. I have not.
Isn't there a
You've clearly
threatening
studied.
undertone there?
You've clearly studied every word. Look, I'm going to be very honest with you, Jim. I have not read the specific tweet or social media post that you're referring to. I'm running for president. I'm looking at reviving our economy and declaring independence from China. I'm not parsing every social media post from every one of my other candidates.
Yeah, like CNN is hanging on everything that Trump says, right? Everything that comes out of his mouth, they're psychoanalyzing and extrapolating it to the extreme, because that's what they do.
But broadly speaking, my whole point is there's a difference between a bad judgment and a crime. And the moment that we conflate
A lot of crimes
the
start
two,
with bad judgments,
that
don't
is
they?
the moment that we have a threat to liberty.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay, but if you actually have to have committed a crime to be prosecuted for one. So making a very bad judgment as a politician, that's a basis for a voter to make a decision. But that's how we've got to do things in the United States of America. We have to let the people of this country decide who actually runs the country, not a federal administrative police state. And I just think that sets a dangerous and deeply problematic precedent in this country. And that is why I've been so vocal against it. That is why I'm clearly committed to pardoning Donald Trump if he is convicted.
But you said earlier you would wait for the facts to come out. If there are some big surprises, you may reconsider that.
My assumption is that the worst statement of the facts, the most favorable version of the facts, is in the indictment. In 99.9% of legal cases, that's exactly how it works in the United States. And I said that on day one when I made my commitment that that was my assumption.
Let's talk about Chinese.
Yeah. Again, this guy, see, it's so embarrassing. They want to spend more time talking about this than they want to spend time talking about the Bidens. Okay. And it's just hilarious because in this interview, Jim Acosta clearly has nothing for Vivek Ramaswamy, who just point by point basically demolishes the argument against Trump when it comes to these indictments. And you can tell that he's visibly frustrated because he can't really push back, right? His only pushback is that, well, do you think that Trump should be saying things like he's coming after you if you come after me, right? You think there's a threatening undertone, right? Jim, if you're scared of Trump, just say you're scared of Trump, right? I don't think that most people are scared of Trump, but if you're scared, just say you're scared, Jim. It sounds like you're scared, right? But anyways, again, that was a great job by Vivek Ramaswamy. Like I said, and I'll keep saying it, as far as today, I don't know if things will change in the future. Trump got to pick this guy as VP, right? He is the best choice for VP right now, and it's not even close. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.